As Africa's leading defense news portal, DefenceWeb aims to give you the latest updates on African defense, the South African National Defense Force, and the defense industry. In this week's edition, in SANDF news, Commander-in-Chief Ramaphosa lauds soldiers for COVID-19 confrontation. The lion's share of the defense budget goes to salaries. Budget cuts have been called a recipe for SANDF disaster. The Surgeon General admits wrongs are committed with the Cuban COVID-19 drug import. Kamffer looks set to depart Army Reserve's director post, and soldiers on border duty confiscate drugs worth millions and recover vehicles. In industry news, Milkor unveils an armed UAV and an automatic grenade launcher at IDEX 2021, and a Paramount and Bharat Forge agreement secures an Indian Army vehicle order as Paramount partners with Sarcos Robotics to offer exoskeletons and military robots. Denel chair Monhla Hlahla resigns, and changes are coming for Denel and other SEOs, says Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. In SANDF news, Commander-in-Chief lauds soldiers for COVID-19 confrontation. President Ramaphosa used a downscaled Armed Forces Day parade at the Castle of Good Hope on the 21st of February to stress the important contribution of SA's men and women in uniform in confronting the COVID-19 pandemic. He told the parade that South Africa's oldest building, SA National Defense Force personnel can be relied on in the good times and in the bad, in times of peace and in times of war, in times of stability and prosperity, and in times of crisis. It was our soldiers who helped maintain law and order in the early days of our lockdown. Ramaphosa, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the SANDF, said lion's share of defense budget goes to salaries. Compensation of employees, or SOE, is the largest cost driver in the Department of Defense, according to the latest estimates of national expenditure released as part of Finance Minister Tito Mbowene's national budget on the 24th of February. National Treasury's expenditure overview for Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Ngakula's area of responsibility notes the Department of Defense's core activities are labor-intensive, accounting for 61.4%, 88.4 billion rand, of its total expenditure of 140.2 billion rand over the medium-term expenditure framework period, a reduction of 3.9 billion rand in the current financial year, with further reductions of 5.3 billion rand in 2022/23 and 3 billion rand in 23/24 was announced as part of the Cabinet's decision to stabilize government debt over the medium term. Implementation will be via a freeze on salary increases for all employees in government service, including those in uniform. Another slight saving on the compensation of employees is envisaged by a decrease in personnel numbers. This, according to National Treasury, is expected to be from 73,500 in 20/2021 to 73,158 in 2023/24, mainly through natural attrition. In what can be seen as a further attempt to limit the compensation of employees, the Department of Defense expects to fill only critical posts as they become vacant. Mapisa-Ngakula's men and women have to make do with less funding to meet the National Defense Force's constitutional mandate of making all South Africans feel they are safe and secure. This government bean counters at National Treasury translates into a 4.5%, 15.4 billion rand reduction in funds over the medium term. Expenditure decreases annually from 54.2 billion rand in the immediate past financial year to 47.2 billion rand in 2023/24. This includes reductions of 119.9 million rand in 2021/22, 145.2 million rand in 2022/23, and 140 million rand in 23/24 on transfers to Arms Corps. There are several other areas where National Treasury sees the SA National Defense Force cutting expenditure. Other reductions will be affected proportionately across all programs, mainly compensation of employees, goods and services including computer services, contractors, fuel, oil and gas, travel and substance, as well as food and food supplies. Budget cuts, a recipe for SA National Defense Force disaster. The SA National Defense Force is now a full-blown crisis, is African Defense Review Director Darren Olife's curt summation of the financial treatment for the force received in February's national budget. He has harsh words following Finance Minister Tito Mbowene's speech in the National Assembly and the release of national expenditure estimates for government departments and entities, taking to task the executive of both the Department of Defense and the SANDF. The apparent lack of care or interest from the Chief of the SANDF, General Solly Shoke, and his service chiefs, or the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, who failed to halt this decline over their terms in office, has again seen the National Defense Force subject to a steep and irrational cuts in the year's budget. This budget crisis is one so bad it may cause the previously unthinkable outcome of personnel going unpaid or entire categories of equipment being mothballed, he said, adding the only way out and hopefully forward is a new defense review. SG, the Surgeon General, admits wrongs committed with Cuban COVID-19 drug import. Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans heard wrongs were committed during the acquisition of a Cuban drug to assist in the prevention of COVID-19. The committee met virtually for a second time in a week in late February to consider oral presentations around the apparent military Command Council approved decision to spend some 260 million rand on Hebron from Cuba. The admission of wrongs came from SA National Defence Force Surgeon General Lieutenant General Zolo Dabula. He did not elaborate and was taken to task by Democratic Alliance parliamentarian Cobus Marais without an adequate response. Kamffer looks set to depart Army Reserve's director post. The man who drove and successfully concluded the renaming of the SA Army Reserve Force unit and was also instrumental in adding value to this component of the National Part-Time Military Corps appears to be past this sell-by date. A 17th of February SA National Defence Force bulletin, in addition to numerous promotions to the rank of Brigadier General, also carried a number of transfers. One of these was that Brigadier General Gerard Kamffer, Director SA Army Reserves, would from 1st of March be Director Project Monhla Hlahla. This ambitious project aims to provide part-time soldiers with skills ranging from agriculture to security. These will then enable them to earn income when not in uniform and at the same time boost local economies. The project is a Chief SANDF General Solly Sholke-one and enjoys the support of Defence and Military Veterans Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Ngakula. In response to a Defence Web inquiry, Defence Corporate Communications said the SANDF is still in the process of appointing the next candidate in the position of Director SA Army Reserves. Soldiers on border duty confiscate drugs worth millions and recover vehicles. The recent confiscation of drugs worth millions of rands and recovery of stolen vehicles is all in a day's work for soldiers and officers working border protection under the national tasking Operation Corona. As is often the case in border incidents, soldiers work with officials from other government agencies and departments. For the drug intercept, soldiers enlisted the assistance of the SA Revenue Service in the form of its sniffer dog unit. Soldiers on foot patrol along a railway line in the vicinity of an unnamed port of entry with Mozambique, apparently with a sniffer dog, followed suspects to a shack on the 12th of February where they found a bag and 5 plastic bags containing a salt-like substance. This was confirmed as being crystal meth valued at 1.2 million rand. In a second incident on the same stretch of land border on the 17th of February, intelligence saw a foot patrol encounter 3 men on the road adjacent to the border fence on the South African side. On being spotted, the men dropped 2 plastic bags and headed back to Mozambique. The SA Revenue Service and its sniffer dog was again summoned to confirm soldiers' suspicion of illegal drug smuggling. 5 containers with a mass of 6.5 kgs were full of crystal meth and a further 4 with a mass of 4.4 kgs were packed with heroin. The value of this haul is 2.26 million rand, bringing the total value of drugs intercepted on the SA/Mozambique border in 5 days in February to 3.3 million rand. Proof positive the border protection tasking is not only an infantry one, comes with the successful recovery of vehicles by Kimberley-based 10 anti-aircraft regiments. Personnel patrolling the KZN border with Mozambique were alerted to a stolen truck en route to South Africa, eastern neighbour, on the 17th of February. It was successfully recovered in Kwangaba village and handed to the police at Manguzi. The estimated value of the truck is 700,000 rand. A second stolen vehicle, an SUV, was recovered at Mbazwana and handed to Shishlui police. In industry news, Milkor unveils armed UAV at IDEX 2021. Milkor has officially launched its Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle, or UCAV, at the 2021 edition of IDEX in the United Arab Emirates. The company said the aircraft was launched by Minister of State for Defence Affairs Mohammed Ahmad Al-Bawadi. Milkor displayed the aircraft at IDEX with 6 guided weapons on the wings. Milkor worked with UAE's Halcon to display its Desert Sting guided munitions at the show. The Desert Sting unpowered munition series features an inertial navigation system and GNSS for navigation with an optional semi-active laser seeker. The Sting series has a range of 16 kilometers but offers different warhead sizes, with the munitions weighing between 10 and 50 kgs. In addition, in November 2019, Halcon was awarded a $1 billion contract to supply Desert Sting 16 weapons to the UAE Armed Forces. According to Milkor, the UCAV is a medium-altitude long-endurance UAV with 30,000 foot altitude and 35 plus hours endurance. It has an 18.6 meter wingspan. Maximum takeoff weight is 1,300 kgs and payload is 210 kgs. Top speed is 250 kilometers an hour and a cruise speed is 110 to 150 kilometers an hour. It has 5 hard points for various payloads. Milkor UAE unveils automatic grenade launcher at IDEX 2021. Milkor has officially unveiled its automatic grenade launcher at IDEX 2021. Milkor UAE said the AGL is designed to be used as a medium to long-range suppressive fire weapon with a maximum range of 2,200 meters. The belt-fed, fully automatic Milkor automatic grenade launcher is the latest addition to the company's range of 40mm weapon systems. It has a cyclic rate of fire of 400 to 500 rounds per minute and a sustained rate of 40 to 60 rounds per minute. It makes use of a variant of 40 by 53mm grenade ammunition. It can easily be mounted on a recoil mitigating cradle for remote turret operation. Much like Milkor's Super 6 multiple grenade launcher, Milkor UAE is ensuring that the weapon qualifies with multiple ammunitions available from manufacturers during development to guarantee complete compatibility. Paramount Paramount and Bharat Forge agreement secures Indian Army vehicle order. Bharat Forge Limited, part of the Kalyani Group, which has partnered with Paramount Group to produce Bombay 4 or Kalyani M4 4x4 armored vehicles in India, has received a contract from the Indian Ministry of Defence. In an announcement made by Bharat Forge Limited to the Indian Stock Exchange, it was revealed that it received an order worth $24 million from the Indian Ministry of Defence for the supply of Kalyani M4 vehicles based on Paramount and Bombay 4. A government statement said India's Defence Acquisition Council on the 23rd of February approved arms purchases worth $1.8 billion as the government continues steps to modernize the military. This included 118 Arjun Mark 1A tanks and M4 vehicles. The M4 contract comes after the vehicle successfully completed a series of extreme vehicle trials in India, along with its competitors in August 2020. According to sources in the defense and security establishment, the emergency procurement is for a smaller number, but they are looking to further increase the number of armored vehicles in the Army's infantry, reports the print. The M4 will be built at Kalyani's Pune plant. Paramount partners with Sarcos Robotics to offer exoskeletons and military robots. Paramount partners with Sarcos Robotics to offer exoskeletons and military robots. Paramount Group and US-based Sarcos Robotics have announced a memorandum of understanding to bring robotic systems to governments and industrial customers in the Middle East and Africa. The announcement was made during the International Defense Exhibition in Abu Dhabi on the 24th of February. Paramount said that through the collaboration, the two companies will explore market opportunities and modifications to Sarcos' award-winning robotic systems to address the region's unique requirements in the maritime and aerospace technology arenas. The companies will supply these modified systems to defense, aerospace, and commercial customers in the Middle East and Africa. Sarcos and Paramount Group will focus their efforts initially on the Sarcos Guardian Exo Robotics exoskeleton, which has been described as the world's first full-body battery-powered wearable robot designed to increase strength and endurance, and the Guardian XT teleoperated dexterous robot, which has been developed to provide human-like dexterity while offering substantially greater strength, stamina, and precision on a remote control basis. The Guardian Exo will enable defense and industrial workers to lift and manipulate heavy objects up to 90 kgs, such as ammunition, vehicle tires, machinery, and plywood, for a full shift or a workday due to its hot swappable lithium-ion batteries, Paramount said. Denel Chair Hlahla resigns. Embattled state-owned defense conglomerate Denel has announced the resignation of board chairperson Monhla Hlahla following a string of other departures from the board of the loss-making entity. In a notice to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange on the 25th of February, Denel advised that Hlahla had resigned as an independent, non-executive director and chairperson of Denel with immediate effect from the 24th of February 2021. The notice also said that Nonzukiso Siotula resigned as an independent, non-executive director of Denel with effect from 24th of February 2021. The recruitment process of the chairperson is underway and the appointment will be communicated to all debt holders in due course, Denel said. Changes coming to Denel and other SEOs. Denel is on the receiving end of yet another gloomy forecast at the same time as its shareholder representative, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, maintains decisive steps are being taken to recover assets, money, and intellectual property stolen from state-owned enterprises in South Africa. The gloomy outlook comes from Victoria Bosomworth, Associate Aerospace and Defense Analyst at Global Data. Denel's financial woes are not only due to reported financial mismanagement, allegations of which are under investigation at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, but should also be viewed in the wider context of South Africa's deepening recession, resulting in the country's downgrade to sovereign junk status by Moody's in 2020 and exacerbated by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The South African defense budget as a percentage of gross domestic product has also been shrinking, with domestic orders failing as the majority of Denel orders stem from exports to countries such as UAE and Malaysia, she said in a statement. Gordhan, in the Daily Maverick opinion piece, noted, in recent years, SOEs have been honeypots of state capture, largely because of their large procurement spend. He goes on to write, this year we will witness changes to the architecture of SOEs and the direction being taken. A set of structural reforms is being introduced to ignite growth in the economy and to address our capability and to address our capacity challenges which have been compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. Denel, along with Eskom, SAA and Transnet, is identified by the Public Enterprises Minister as SOEs set to recover from ruthless looting and destruction. Mandates will be reviewed, lost funds recovered, procurement policies changed, and localization policies implemented. Of the state-owned defense and technology conglomerate, Gordhan writes, its successes is dependent on a clear national vision of the role and place of defense and related defense industries in a changing globalized world. Denel's new business model must, he states, respond to these challenges. This will see Denel restructured to become fit for purpose, commercially sustainable, and not dependent on the fiscus. We anticipate that Denel will enter in strategic partnerships with the original equipment manufacturers to add value to the local economy while benefiting from a growing and untapped international market, Gordhan wrote in the Digital Daily. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our daily and weekly newsletter, and other social media platforms if you enjoyed the webcast. Leave your comments below. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.